Saint Bridget of Sweden, mystic, mother, founder, and prophetess of the Church. This reflection is prepared by Father Aube Francis, pastor at St. Jude Church, Grand Rapids, Michigan, USA. Feast Day, July 23rd, patron of Sweden, Europe, widows and pilgrims, early life and birth. Saint Bridget of Sweden, also known as Birgitta Bergerstetter, was born in 1303 in Uppland, Sweden, into a noble and devout family. Her father, Birger Persson, was a powerful governor and lawmaker, and her mother, Ingeborg, came from a line of Swedish royalty. From childhood, Bridget was surrounded by both privilege and piety. At the age of 7, Bridget began receiving mystical visions, particularly of Christ crucified, experiences that would continue throughout her life and shape her spiritual mission. Marriage, family life, and call to holiness. At the age of 14, Bridget was married to Ulf Gudmarsson, a nobleman of her rank. They had 8 children, among them Saint Catherine of Sweden, who became her close companion in faith. Bridget was a model Christian wife and mother, deeply engaged in charitable works and spiritual development even during her years of married life. After nearly 28 years of marriage, Bridget and Ulf made a pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. Shortly after their return, Ulf fell ill and died in a Cistercian monastery. His death marked a turning point in Bridget's life. She now embraced a more radical form of Christian discipleship, religious life, and apostolic mission. Following her husband's death, Bridget renounced her noble lifestyle and became a third-order Franciscan, dedicating her life entirely to prayer, penance, and service. God continued to speak to her through visions and interior locutions, revelations that she diligently recorded with the help of her confessor. These were later compiled into her famous book, The Revelations of Saint Bridget. They included messages concerning the renewal of the Church, the reform of clergy, the dignity of the sacraments, and the sufferings of Christ. In obedience to divine prompting, she founded the Order of the Most Holy Savior, commonly known as the Brigittines. The order was based in Vadstena, Sweden, and consisted of both monks and nuns living in separate quarters but united in liturgical prayer and monastic discipline. Her daughter Catherine later became abbess of this community. Work for the Church and pilgrimage to Rome. Bridget moved to Rome in 1350, feeling called to seek the reform of the papacy and clergy. She spent the rest of her life there, advocating for the return of the papacy from Avignon to Rome, a cause that would be fulfilled decades later by Saint Catherine of Siena. In Rome, she cared for the poor, lived in simplicity, and counseled both popes and kings. She made pilgrimages to many holy sites, including Jerusalem, where she received some of her most powerful mystical experiences. Death and canonization. Saint Bridget died on July 23, 1373, in Rome at the age of 70. Her body was later transferred to the mother house of her order in Vadstena, Sweden. She was canonized by Pope Boniface VI in 1391, just 18 years after her death, and her spiritual writings were declared free of error by Pope Benedict XIV. In the year 1999, Pope St. John Paul II named her one of the 3 co-patronesses of Europe. Alongside Saints Catherine of Siena and Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, Edith Stein, for her deep faith, ecumenical spirit, and influence on the unity of the Church. Lessons from her life. 1. Bridget shows us the path from noble privilege to Christian humility and service. 2. She teaches that holiness can blossom within the duties of family life and later in religious vocation. 3. Her writings invite us to meditate deeply on the passion of Christ and the mystery of salvation. 4. She reminds us that women have a prophetic role in the life of the Church. 5. Through her life of action and contemplation, she exemplifies how to live for God alone. 6. She is a shining example of the lay apostolate, combining political wisdom with spiritual insight. 7. Bridget's courage in speaking truth to power inspires us to work for justice and reform. A question for reflection: am I listening to God's call in my life with the same openness and courage as Saint Bridget, whether in my family, my work, or my community?